Hey friends, I'm so happy to be here and thank you for hanging out with me and showing up to the summer workshop retreat. First thing first, my name is Maira Vial and I'm the founder of Vial Designs, a calligraphy and hand lettering blog where I share fun and easy to follow tutorials to help you learn everything about calligraphy and hand lettering. I'm excited to be here because I'm going to show you how to create this floral and banner doodle composition. And before you even say you can draw, hear me out. We're going to break this piece down and I'll show you step by step how to draw the banner and each floral doodle and greenery separate. Then you'll see how easy it is to draw each one of them, and we're gonna play around to create a beautiful composition like this one. To make things a bit easier for you, I created a traceable printable you can use to trace and practice. The link to access the printable is down below, so you can pause this video, click on the link, grab it and come back so you can follow along with me. Or you can also just grab a piece of paper and pencil and start drawing and follow along with me. Either way is totally fine, whatever is the easiest for you. Are you ready? Let's go ahead and get started. Here's what we're gonna need. We're gonna need a cardstock 60 pounds. I'm gonna be using the monoline studio pens by the Peggy letters 01 and 03, and we're also gonna be using pencil to sketch, eraser, and the Tombow Fudenowski brush pen, which is optional because you can also use the monoline studio pens. Now let's go ahead and break down each piece of this composition. I'm going to show you how to draw each individual flower doodle, greenery, the banner, everything, so you know how to create beautiful compositions like this one. The first thing that we're going to draw is the flowers. For the piece we're going to be drawing these 4 different flowers and also these 4 different pieces of greenery. So let me go ahead and show you how we draw each one of them. And so for the first flower, we're going to do a small circle, and then we're going to start drawing the petals rounded like this around the small circle. And just remember, these don't have to be perfect. And as you can see here, some of them can overlap. Okay, once you're happy with the flower, you are gonna go ahead and trace it using the monoline studio pen 03. And even if you draw or sketch your flowers, you can always, when you're tracing them, you can always fix little things that you didn't like with the flowers, so just like I'm doing here. And one tip, you want to make sure that the ink dries a little bit before you erase the pencil sketch. Okay, now this one is a pretty simple flower doodle that you can make, but you will see that when we combine it with the other ones, it's gonna make a difference in the whole piece. Now this second one over here, okay, we're gonna start the same way with a small circle, and then this time we're gonna start building the petals, and as you can see, they're going to be pointed. Okay, and so once you have the first round of petals, then you're gonna start drawing the other ones in between the ones that you already drew. They don't always have to be perfect in between each of the petals, you're just going to start building around them. And then once you are satisfied with the size of it, you can leave it like this, or you can continue adding petals around it. And so I think I'm gonna go ahead and leave it like that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go over with my Monoline Studio Pen 03, and I'm going to trace over my pencil sketch. In this part, I went ahead and speed it up a little bit. You definitely don't have to do this part unless you want some added practice. And as you can see here, even though I sketched the flower with pencil, I went ahead and made some corrections once I was tracing over it. And this is just something that you're gonna start seeing as you practice more, that even though you sketch it, then once you go over it with your pen, then you can still make some changes to it. For the third flower that we're going to do 5 different petals, and then we're going to start drawing like sort of like a heart shape. I'm going to start like this, and I went ahead and started with the monoline pen. And then we're going to continue building off of that petal. And then it's always okay if the last petal just overlaps with the other one. And then for this one, we're going to use the Monoline Studio Pen 01 to do the line and shading inside the petals of the flower. For this, just make sure when you're doing the lines that they go accordingly with the shape of the petal, and all of them are going to meet in the center. And when you're making this line, make sure you're just not doing straight lines. Like I said, to go with the shape of the petal, and make sure that the lines are a little bit curved, just like this. Okay, we're gonna continue the same. When you're doing the lines, try to make sure that they are sort of like the same distance from each other. You can always turn the page, whatever is most comfortable for you when you're doing these lines. So that is our third flower. And now for the last flower, we're gonna do the same type of petals that we did for the number 3. Okay, I'm gonna go back to using my 03 Monoline Studio Pen. And then again, it's sort of like a heart shape, and then the other petals are gonna build from the one you did previously. So for this one, I usually do a center before I start drawing the petals. I totally forgot on this one, but you can go ahead and do it now or leave it without it. It's really up to you, however you decide to do your flower doodle. So for this one, the difference is that we're going to go ahead and pick some of the petals, and then we're going to do this line. And then this one right here, the shape of my petal is a little bit off. So instead of doing the line inside, I'm going to go ahead and do it outside. And these little lines help us to show the petals are sort of like bent, and to give it a little bit more dimension and perspective to the flower. With my 01 pen, I'm going to do some line shading. And when you're doing the line shading, you're going to make sure that you don't do just straight lines. You start, for example, here we're going to start at the center and you're doing a little bit curve and then you lift your pen. You start here and you lift it. And this is gonna just give it a little bit more delicate. And the line shading is just help the doodle, the illustration, kind of like jump off the page. When you're adding these little lines, it can help with the overall look of the piece and with the perspective. And then here in the middle, you're going to do the same, and again make sure that the lines that you do are a little bit curved and they're not straight lines, and this is to give it a good dimension and perspective to the flower doodles. And there you have it. These are the 4 flower doodles that we're going to be drawing on our final composition. Now let's go ahead and go to the greenery. Our first greenery is going to be this leaf, and for this we're going to do a curve line like this, and then we're going to do the other one the same way. They meet here at the end, and then the line in the center, we're going to make sure that it's kind of like an S shape. For the inside lines, I always like to use the 01, or whenever you're working, it doesn't necessarily have to be a 03 and a 01. Just make sure that you have one that is wider and the other one that is that has a smaller tip. And so for the lines, we're going to start doing the lines again. We don't want to make the lines straight. We want to make sure that they are curved and they're going to meet in the center as well. And make sure that when you're drawing them, you try to keep the same distance between the lines. And you can either do it closer together or a little bit further apart. You can play around with that, but whatever you choose, if you're doing them closer together, make sure they're all closer together so the distance between them is consistent. And then you go to the other side and they're going to meet in the center. For the second piece of greenery, I'm going to be switching to my 03 monoline studio pen, and I'm going to start with the stem, which again is going to be a curved line, and then we're going to start doing the leaves, and they're going to be pointed like this. And another thing that you can do with this type of greenery, you can either color it all the way, or you can choose to color half of it. So for the final piece, we're going to be coloring the whole leaf, but like I said, I'm showing you here a different way, and that way you have another option when you're doing your composition. If you notice here with the leaves, I color the opposite side of it. It wasn't fully intentional, but I still like the look of it. I think it looks pretty cool this way. Again, when you're doing these flower doodles and greenery, you can choose to make small changes to them, and that's gonna change the piece as well, the overall piece. And then for this one is again a curved line, and then we're gonna draw the leaf at the end. And then for the leaves, instead of coming from the center stem, we're gonna draw a little stem to the side, and that's where we're gonna draw the leaves. And also we're gonna do other stems for the other leaves, but they're gonna come from different parts of the center stem. And then the last one, I think this is the easiest one of all to make, because you can just, this one you can do a straight line, and then we're gonna get some lines off of it, and it can be totally asymmetrical. Okay, so there you have it. This is the 4 type of greeneries that we're going to do, and now I'm going to show you how to do the banner. Now we're going to go ahead and draw the banner. For this one, I'm going to start with the pencil. And so for this type of banner, first we're going to start doing sort of like a continuous S. Before I continue drawing the banner, you want to make sure that whatever quote you choose to put inside the banner, that you make the banner that is long enough to fit your quote. So for example, as you can see, this banner, I'm writing "You're enough" because I do love the combination of powerful quotes with beautiful flower doodles. But like you see here, I'm using a short quote for the banner, and I'm only choosing to write on the front part of the banner. That's one thing that you want to keep in mind. So we're going to be drawing this type of banner, but if you wanted to write a longer quote, then you might want to do a longer banner. First, we're going to do the top part, so it's not as complicated. So once we have that, we're going to join the ends like this right here. And then I always kind of like to see the middle of it, and I draw a dot, and then same here, I kind of like draw a dot in the center, and then I can do the end of the banner, so it's like a V shape. And then for the bottom part, we're going to do the same. Okay, I'm gonna join them. If you can see here, this is sort of the same type of banner on one side, and the other one is just inverted. And then we're gonna join all the ends, connect the ends. And for this one, I do a dot. I'm gonna bring the end of it, another dot, and do the same right here. Okay, and then to connect them, I'm just gonna go ahead and draw a line here and here. Okay, so that is how we're going to draw our banner. Now it's time to trace over the banner, and I'm gonna be using the Monoline Studio Pen 03. And as you can see, I went ahead and sped up this tracing part of the process, and once everything was done, I went ahead and erased all the pencil sketch. And you really need one of these little gadgets. This is a desktop vacuum, and it's just the perfect tool that you need, especially if you erase a lot like me. And as soon as I finished the other banner, I realized that we're supposed to leave this piece right here blank, since we're replicating this composition piece. So I went ahead and did it again and try to match exactly this part right here. So now we're going to start drawing the flowers around the banner like you see here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use the Monoline Studio Pen 03 to draw the flowers. I'm gonna skip the pencil part, and it's only because I already sketched this design in pencil, and I'm doing that just so we don't take so much time here in the workshop. But I recommend that before you start sketching it in pen, that you sketch it in pencil. Another thing that's helping me go ahead and trace the flowers with pen is that I have the original piece handy. And so I'm going to go ahead and speed up this part a little bit, just because I already went over how to draw each floral doodle, and I do recommend that you keep them for reference and you keep them nearby, and that way you know exactly how you're going to be drawing your floral doodles around the banner. A couple of tips is that I recommend for you to do the easier flowers to fill in the gaps that are a little bit hard to see, but you don't want to leave them empty. So these are the perfect flowers to do there. And as I mentioned before, make sure that you do the inside of the greenery and the flowers using a smaller tip. So that's why here I'm using the 01 monoline pen. And just as I recommend the easier flowers to fill in the gaps, the flowers that have a little bit more detail, I recommend for you to do them in the outside of the banner. And then always make sure to add the greenery in between your floral doodles. As you can see, I'm adding the flowers with the more details around the banner in a place where you can appreciate the details a little bit better. And all the floral doodles and greenery are sort of like behind the banner. And I do this because the banner is the one that's going to have the message or the quote, and the floral doodles around it is what's going to make the whole piece pop. Also, I always try to incorporate the leaves and greenery around the flowers. So for example, I like to add 2 leaves next to the flowers that have more detail, and then add the branches in between the other types of flowers. And I always leave this type of greenery for the end because I like to add it where sort of like a filler in the composition, just because I wanted to have more greenery, but I don't necessarily want to do leaves or other branches or anything like that. So I think this is the perfect piece to add to the composition. And now we're gonna start adding the flower doodles and greenery to the other side of the banner. And for this, you just wanna make sure that you keep in mind to add sort of like the same amount that you added on the other side. And to add the doodles on the other side of the banner, I think it's better to turn the piece around to start drawing the doodles. And I went ahead and speed up this part of the drawing process just because we already drew these flowers in real time, and I don't want to make this workshop super long. But make sure that when you're doing this, just take your time. This is supposed to be a time for you to kind of like relax and focus on the piece. So this don't feel like you have to do it fast or anything like that. And now it's time for us to do the lettering part, and as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to be writing the quote, "You are enough." You can write whatever quote you want inside the banner, and I'm going to be doing this with pencil just to make sure that I distribute the letters correctly throughout the banner. Okay, so now that I have the lettering sketching pencil, I'm gonna give you this simple trick, and it's to use a knitter eraser instead of a regular eraser to erase most of the pencil sketch, and this is gonna help you so it is visible enough for you to trace over it, and also it won't leave so many marks of the pencil sketch that you don't have to erase it afterwards. To trace over the letters, I'm going to be using the Monoline Studio Pen 03. I was going to use the Tombow Food and Uske brush pen, but I decided to go ahead and do fall calligraphy instead. So the first step that I'm going to do is to trace over the sketch that I did with pencil. And if this is your first time doing fall calligraphy, I recommend that you practice a little bit beforehand. I do have some free worksheets on my blog that you can use to practice. So now that I'm done tracing the quote, I'm gonna do the second step in fall calligraphy, which is to add an outline every time I do a downstroke. And basically a downstroke is every time I move my pen downward, and after I do the outline, I am filling in the downstrokes. And this is basically what we do in fall calligraphy, is to imitate the strokes that you would do with a brush pen to get the thick downstrokes and the thin upstrokes. As you can see, creating fall calligraphy is going to take you a little bit of time, so make sure you don't rush to this process. I am of course going to speed this part a little bit, but make sure you take your time when you're doing the doodles and the calligraphy part. Okay, so this is the last part of the lettering, and I'm sorry my whole table was shaking as I was doing this, but I think this looks really nice like this. But what I'm going to do is I'm gonna add more details to the banner, and for that I'm gonna be using the Monoline Pen 01 to do all the details in the banner, and this is just to make it pop a little bit more. And the first thing that we're going to be doing to the banner is that we're gonna be outlining the banner with these little lines all around it. The next detail that we're going to be adding to the banner is that we are going to do lines and dots, and this is going to be to the back of the banner. And you can either do these lines, these are going to be very interchangeable, the lines that I'm going to be making. You can do straight lines, or you can also color it completely. Our project is complete, and I really hope that you enjoy creating it with me. Maybe this time you're not here to do the whole project, but I hope you pick up some of the skills that we practice here today, and I hope you're feeling confident to draw any flower doodle you can think of, and also to design your own layout, because at the end of the day, that's an important part of being creative, is to learn, practice, and build your own skill set and start working on your own designs. If you're interested in learning more about all the different projects that you can make using your calligraphy and new flower doodles and skills that you learned here today, you can come over to my blog at vialdesigns.com. where I have tons of tutorials, free worksheets, workbooks, and all the things to help you with your creative journey. If you haven't already, don't forget that you can get access to the printable worksheets that go along with this. Make sure you go to the link below. Before I go, I want to give a huge thank you to Peggy and her team for putting this wonderful event together and for giving me the opportunity to be here with all these amazing creators. And make sure you check all the other workshops because this event is an amazing opportunity to take advantage of. I look forward to see how you do with this project. Again, thank you for hanging out with me today, and if you created, please post a picture on social media and tag me at Vial Designs and come and say hello to one of my social media channels. Until next time.